way we start everything. And originally I thought I was going to have to make all of you do an about face and catch the flag on the State House, but Diane always has a flag on her vehicle and it's right in front of us, so I'll do the about face and we'll have the national anthem.
Hey folks, my name's Pat Crocker and I'm with the Green Mountain Patriots, and welcome everybody for braving the cold weather and the rain. It's holding up for us, which is great. It's not quite as nice as it was last year when we were out here, unfortunately. But today is Tax Freedom Day in Vermont, April 13th. It's the 103rd day of 2011. Tax Freedom Day is 3 days later this year than last year. That means Vermonters will work more than 3 months before having earned enough money to pay their tax obligations at the federal, state, and local levels. As citizens, we are not against government. We are for the proper place of government in our lives. We are not against paying taxes either, but we are for paying a responsible level of taxes. For our Tax Freedom Day rally today, we are honored to have TJ Michaels as our MC for today's rally. Please give a round of applause for TJ Michaels.
Thank you, Pat, and good morning. It really is my honor and pleasure to be here on the State House lawn on Tax Freedom Day. April 13th, as Pat said, comes 3 days later this year. And I'm happy to report that the Tea Party message, a message that demands smaller government, self-reliance, a message that looks for fiscal responsibility and a return to the first principles of our founding document, is alive and well in Vermont and in America. This is my third year back. Really? And I want to thank the Green Mountain Patriots for asking me to come and share this time with you today. I'm here for a couple of reasons. One, I love my state and I love my country. And I'll stop and talk to anyone who's willing to listen, who's willing to open their eyes and have the awakening that all of you have had. And you must be willing to do the same. A lot of people are scared about the direction that our state and our country is moving. Some are depressed. I can tell you that I'm not, because I see people waking up every day. I see all of you. I'm emboldened. Generations are going to look back on a group of Americans, a group of Vermonters who rose up and stopped the big government politicians who charted a devastating course for our state and our republic. But today, I want to speak to you about a man. The aforementioned man that I speak of, politicians would claim he's really nothing special. And they are so wrong. He is an average, ordinary man. He has a couple of kids, a house. He's worked really hard to do the best that he can to care for his family. He's not a rich man, but he pays his bills. He contributes to his community. And it wasn't always easy, but this man made the right choices and wouldn't even think of asking the government for help even if he needed. In fact, he helps his neighbors and friends when they're having difficulties. He's a believer in the American dream. He knows that when you get knocked down, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you try again. He is the forgotten man. Now, the forgotten man is married to the forgotten woman. Together they raise the forgotten children. And let's pause here for a second. I have to ask you today, why are you here? I can emphatically tell you that I'm here because of my beautiful 3 children, my little girls. I want to pass along to them a state, a country, and a freedom that is stronger than I have ever experienced. That's why I'm here today. I'm here today for my children. You know, I could give my children each $20 and send them to the mall, and it'd be gone in a heartbeat. Children don't budget. They don't have self-control. They don't have responsibilities that us adults have. And over the past couple of weeks, I've heard pundits and politicians say during this budget crisis that we all need to act like adults. How many times have you heard that? Well, we have been saying that for over 3 years, and some of us, myself included, have been saying it for a lot longer than that. The sound bites of 2 weeks ago suggested that the draconian Tea Party radical conservatives wanted to cut $61 billion from the federal budget. The rhetoric was nonstop. They were trying to kill women and defunding Planned Parenthood. They were killing culture and defunding NPR. They were killing the economy. They were killing jobs. All of these statements completely untrue. And Speaker Boehner, well, he didn't get it all, but he did get us started. Nothing was killed. The truth is, we put some people in office who are willing to be the adults in the equation. Now, the gains made are really minuscule. We will continue to hold our elected officials' feet to the fire and demand that that number from Senator Kyle, who wants to see $1.1 trillion, is upheld. But let's come back a week later. The discussion has shifted. Legislators are now all of a sudden in agreement, singing Kumbaya. The president all of a sudden is in favor of these cuts. Mark my words, this battle has just begun. In Vermont, we look at a single-payer healthcare system that no one, not the governor, not the legislators, not the doctors, or the nurses, even know how it will work, let alone how they're going to pay for it. It doesn't sound like adults have made their way to the State House here in Vermont. Instead, we're on more tax and spend scavenger hunts. Forgotten people, and all of you are, the forgotten man, or, well, you know how concerned I get about being politically correct, forgotten women too. The forgotten man is a term that is really generally used to describe those at the bottom of the economic pyramid. And it really came to light with FDR's use of it in his New Deal, in which progressive policies bloomed, entitlement programs blossomed. In fact, during the Depression, everything government-related blossomed. Big government was the answer, and the only thing that didn't grow was America's economy. But FDR's use of the term was not its original intent. The term was first notably used by Yale professor William Graham Sumner. He had an algebraic definition of the forgotten man. It was that A observes something in which he figures to be wrong, from which X is suffering. He talks it over with B, and then A and B try to get C to pay for it. And you folks are all C. See everybody. Sumner wrote that the forgotten man is the man who is never thought of. He is the victim of the reformer, social speculator, and philanthropist. He deserves your notice for both his character and for his many burdens in which are laid upon him. He continued that the forgotten man is the simple, honest laborer, ready to earn his living by productive work. We pass him because he's independent, self-supporting, and asks for no favors. He doesn't appeal to the emotions or excite the sentiments. He only wants to make a contract and fulfill it. Well, all of you today assembled are forgotten people. You are the middle. You are the group that defines America and Vermont. You are the ones that keep the state and the country running. You are not the recipient of the largeness of government. And this morning, you found your way here to the Vermont State House. Maybe you've come to stop the bailouts, the handouts. Maybe you've come to defeat big government takeovers. Maybe you're here to defend personal liberties and freedoms that we all hold so dear. But if you're like me, I like to call myself a freedom and liberty environmentalist. I've come to leave a better world for my children. And as we head into another presidential election, I want you to remember a couple of things. We're figuring these things out here in Vermont and in America at the same time. Number one, elections have consequences. And number two, always remember your principles and ideals. And remind those in the media, your representatives, your neighbors, your friends, and again, anyone who's willing to listen. It's not the things that are used to divide us here in Vermont and in America that all of us concern ourselves with. It's not race, it's not religion, it's not sexual preference, it's not economic class or gender. We the people, the forgotten people, are bound by a set of beliefs that are rooted in the teaching of our founders. We believe in a return to first principles, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, small government, belief in a higher power, the importance of family, and hard work. We are the largest group of Americans without representation in government. You know, it seems every group in this country has a lobbyist here in Montpelier and in Washington, except the forgotten man. You are invisible to your government. The only time they pay attention to you is when there's an election. And you're no longer a citizen in the eyes of government. You are a source of revenue. You are the people who are repeatedly the monetary resource for wasteful spending, irresponsible social programs, programs for which you will never qualify as a beneficiary, only the benefactor. Your ethic and investment is what drives the state and the nation. The forgotten man is mocked, he is criticized, he is neglected, and in the end, he is silenced. But we will not be silenced. We will continue to focus our energies and resources where we can make a difference. And on this Tax Freedom Day, we will be seen and heard, not by a bunch of people who already agree with us, but also by the forgotten man who is not yet awake in our state and in our country. Let him know that there are others in his community that think and feel the way that he does. We stand with forgotten peoples from all over the country, and we will lead our communities, our states, and our country back to the founding principles of our Constitution. And together with forgotten families from all over Vermont and the United States of America, we remind today our local, state, and federal officials, we will not be forgotten.
We didn't forget.
One of his papers are on your foot.
Rain is a great enemy today.
It rains on the good and the evil, right?
Yes.
According to Scripture. So.
we are going to have Darcy Johnston come up. She is the owner and president at Johnston Consulting Services. It's a fundraising firm located here in Montpelier, Vermont. She is also the president for Vermont Healthcare Freedom. It's a 501c4. It's an organization of individuals and businesses who are deeply concerned about the healthcare reforms being proposed by Governor Shumlin. The Vermont legislature is currently considered legislation that eliminates Vermont's free market system and replaces it with a single-payer system that all Vermont residents would be required to join in. The so-called Green Mountain Care would be funded by new payroll tax and/or additional income taxes or other newly created taxes. So in plain English, it will result in the largest tax increase in Vermont history. Vermonters for Healthcare Freedom will educate the public and legislators about the damaging effects of the legislation legislation will have on Vermont's economy and on our current high-quality healthcare system that provides coverage to more than 92% of all Vermonters. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome from Vermont Healthcare Reform, Darcy Johnston.
Hi, thanks for having me. Can you all hear me okay?
No.
Yes?
Turn the mic down.
Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? Thank you, TJ, for that great introduction. And I just want to share with you all that Vermonters for Healthcare Freedom has formed to help sound the alarm about the largest tax increase that we are likely to see if this legislation goes through, both an employer tax and an employee tax and any other tax that they'll need in order to make this program work. So I want to encourage you all to check our website out at www.vthealthcarefreedom.org and get involved. I also want to share with you that we have a surprising ally in the Dean of Vermont Law School, Jeff Shields, who yesterday came out on Vermont Public Radio with a commentary warning that the path that we are on with this legislation could lead to this program, Green Mountain Care, being the single largest expenditure and priority that the state will have. It'll trump all the other priorities that we have had in the past, education and in the environment and so on. So I really want to encourage you all to get involved, check our website out, use your social networking, go to our Facebook page at Vermonters for Healthcare Freedom and pass the message on. More and more people are getting involved and standing up with us and sounding the alarm. We are not alone. Lots and lots of people are realizing what this is going to do. This is going to devastate our economy. It's going to devastate our healthcare system. So please check us out. We pass information on through the website and through the Facebook page that is valuable and helpful and informative. So I hope you all will get involved, and please call me, contact me if you'd like more information or want to get any other information. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. We're going to bring up Dan Bauer. I just spoke a lot about my children, and Dan's going to talk to you about what the debt burden means to our children's generation. And he is a sophomore at St. Michael's College, political science major, president of the St. Michael's Conservative Club there. He is host of the Vermont Avenger on WWPV 88.7. It airs Friday at 10 p.m. So without further ado.
Morning, everybody. Can you hear? Okay, there we go. I woke up this morning and wasn't exactly feeling 100%. And it was kind of tempting to just call up Diane or Pat and say, I'm not feeling, I don't know if I can make it, but when it came down to it, I realized, any kind of temporary, just like physical illness or pain or sickness is so little compared to what all of us in this state and in this country are feeling because of what they're doing up there in the State House. I'm, like the rest of you, I'm concerned at the direction that this country is taking and that this state is taking. We have no money. And we have absolute criminals like Governor Shumlin and company who are determined to run this single-payer bill through the State House when we have doctors oppose this, the people oppose this. This is any quote-unquote grassroots effort that we've seen supporting this legislation is complete astroturf. When I look around and I see the money that's being spent and the resources that are going into single payer and every other idea that they come up with, it's maddening to think that if they spent that amount of time coming up with schemes like single payer, can you imagine if maybe they actually sat down and read the Constitution for 10 minutes, what kind of ideas they could come up with? It has absolutely gone out of control. My generation has been absolutely hoodwinked by left-wing academia, left-wing culture and society, telling them that this kind of relativism that we're seeing nowadays and this attitude that the government will give you whatever you want, it's poisoning and robbing an entire generation. We cannot afford it, and we cannot keep going on this way. During the 2008 election, the first time I could vote, and I remembered a lot of my other friends who were first-time voters, and they were so excited about Barack Obama and hope and change. And I still can remember asking them, what is it that you actually believe in? And they could never once really tell me, because the president does not actually know what he believes in.
Yes, he does. He just won't tell
Yeah.
us.
The president knows what he believes. I should rephrase that. The president knows what he believes in. He believes in socialism. He believes in Marxism. That's what the president believes in. And he believes in trampling on the United States Constitution. But for the people in my generation, they hear these words, these buzzwords, these catchphrases. They hear the government telling them, we'll give you a job, we'll provide. And where do we go with that? We've seen what happens when we've had people putting Obama into power. We've got health care. We've got all these entitlement programs that we cannot afford. And I'm really thankful that my generation is, I think, beginning to finally wake up. People are beginning to realize that we have a real debt emergency. The solution to that is not more government spending, and certainly not spending on single-payer health care. It's getting back to the Constitution and getting back to the values that made this country great. It's going back to those words of the Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what matters. The government is not our boss. We are the government's boss. They don't tell us what to do. We tell them what to do. This debt, this absolutely out of control spending can be stopped. The solution isn't a balanced budget amendment or any of these other things that other politicians have concocted. They're lies. The only solution is the grassroots, and it's the people firing back and saying, no more spending. Governor Shumlin, we are aware of you, we are aware of your lies, and we are not going to stand here and take it anymore. Kill this bill. Thank you.
Good job, Dan. Good job.
No, because we're off of our kind of schedule because our featured speaker is Lawrence Spivak, and he was coming here all the way from Massachusetts, and I did get a call that he's running behind. He anticipates being here about 20 minutes to 1. So we kind of have a little change in plans. I thought that maybe if there was someone else who would like to speak, to tell how they're feeling about the state budget and deficit that we're facing. And if you folks could hang around, Lawrence Spivak really is a very motivational speaker, and he's driving all the way from Massachusetts just to be here today. So
It was down at that park here, in Barry. I know I lived there.
okay. Sue just said that we were able to get room 10, and that we will have Lauren go to room 10 in the State House at 1 o'clock. Agnes, would you like to come? I'd like to introduce Agnes because she is going to be running. There's going to be a little informal citizen lobbying education for anybody who would like to get a guided tour of the State House, and also to learn a little bit of the inner workings of what to do. And this is Agnes. She'll be doing that after Lauren's speech in room 10 at 1 o'clock. There was a gentleman who indicated he wanted to speak, so I'm going to let him come up. And
I'm going to hand this to you. Thank you.
Sure, my name is Henry Lant. I am your state coordinator for the John Birch Society. Now, Dan over here hit the nail on the head when he talked about grassroots, when he talked about citizens. It starts with you guys, with every person out here. When the people realize what they haven't been getting in public schools, what they haven't been getting on TV, even on Fox News. And that's that our federal government has a constitution. They swear a solemn oath before God to obey that. And then what do, folks? They ignore it. They disobey it. Maybe that Ron Paul guy, he keeps it up. But pretty much no one else does. And that's a serious, serious problem. If we simply stuck to the Constitution, if we simply held our legislators accountable to that, something like 80% of the federal budget would go away. We wouldn't have all this talk about a balanced budget amendment or a constitutional convention. That's something that a lot of folks have been calling for lately. A constitutional convention, in case you don't know, opens a can of worms and allows any number of crazy amendments to be proposed. Now let me ask you folks, in this day and age, do you think anything like the Bill of Rights would get passed or even suggested?
Not a chance.
Something that says government needs to be limited?
No.
Remember, Congress has a specific list of powers. You check your Constitution, it's Article 1, Section 8. It says Congress can do this, that, this other thing, and anything else it can't do. The 10th Amendment makes that very clear. It says, hey guys, if we forgot to give you any of these powers, it belongs here at the state. And at the state level, we have a state legislature run amok. We want to be first in the nation to have single-payer health care? No. What kind of nonsense is that? If you look closely at what's been going on, why costs have been exploding. Sure, we've got monetary inflation. That's a serious issue, and that's something the John Birch Society has been calling to stop for 50 some odd years. But we also have seen the cost going up because of government interference. HMOs don't exist because of some evil corporations. HMOs are a government creation. The entire insurance situation, government creation. We have a situation where almost half of every dollar spent on healthcare goes through government. So of course, prices have gone through the roof. And what's the answer from the guys causing the problem? More of the same poison that's got you sick. And here, single payer, does anyone honestly believe, who has even a remote understanding of basic economics, that single payer will make things cheaper?
No.
Better?
No.
Of course not. And what are the employers going to do when we have single payer, the big ones? They're going to leave us. They are going to get out. We've also heard about, they're going to close down Vermont Yankee, drive energy costs up. What's that going to do to GE? Our employers are going to take off. They're going to leave us stuck with the bill. The regular working class people in this state, they're going to be the ones paying. And you got to believe there's tons of exemptions too. So some of us who work hard for our money are going to be stuck losing it to other states. And that can't happen. So folks, it's up to you. And I want you to talk to me. If you're interested in getting active here in Vermont with the oldest constitutional organization in the country, talk to me. You've been at it for 53 years. You know what we're doing. God bless you guys.
Thank you.